Okay, we'll call to order the school board meeting, regularly scheduled August 11th. First thing we do is approval of the agenda.
I
I move we approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor? Passes 6-0. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate all the guests here tonight, and all those watching on the video. I think it's important that everybody be informed of what's going on and it's a great deal. We're able to video these and they're also able to go back and watch them later, the meetings. All right. Open forum, says on forum, we have one person. The board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We set aside this time every meeting to hear from the public. Your comments should be directed towards board policies or procedures our administration established to carry out those policies. This is not an appropriate time or place for patrons to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or student. Persons making comments which violate the privacy rights of district employees and students will be asked to stop speaking or cease their remarks. If a patron or parent has a concern with one or more employees, the board will refer that person to the appropriate administrator and the board will follow up at future meetings. Person speaking will be allowed 3 minutes to express their opinions. In cases where there's a large number of patrons have similar opinions, a single speaker should be chosen to represent the larger group. Thank you for taking your time. Come to me to discuss district business with the board. And with that, Betsy, here.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you guys tonight. I'm gonna keep it short because I know what it's like to sit in meetings and it drag out. I have lots of discussion otherwise. So I'm here to discuss the potential reinstatement of high school cross country at Wakefield. I had planned to talk about my son possibly running middle school, but thanks to Travis Smith and Ashley Dunbar, they helped a lot with some questions I had this morning, so that was kind of taken care of then. But I don't know if most of you know, but my son Lucas broke his neck the last football game of the season, and he is a competitor and he wants something to do. And so he loves to run, and I would love the opportunity to have cross country back at Wakefield so that he's able to have a fall sport. So I do have a letter for the board members that I wrote up, and then some options for possibly reinstating that I kind of went over. He's just going to be in 8th grade this year, but I want to get ball rolling for next year. Discussed with Keisha and the athletic directors this morning, and a co-op was maybe taken care of for him to run middle school here at Clay, but we'd like to bring him back to Wakefield for his high school career. So I'll just maybe these two and you can pass them off.
Thank you for sharing that. The next consent agenda items. Any questions on the consent agenda item? I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Reports. Board reports, anybody have anything they'd like to report?
Yeah, I'll just say thanks to all the teachers that are getting their classrooms ready for the students. S Farm getting the buses ready, facilities getting the buildings ready, so we can all be ready to roll next week.
Anyone else?
Thank you to the maintenance crew that's worked hard on the landscaping.
It's really good. Second that, looks really good. Anything else? If not, we'll move on. Superintendent's report, Brett.
I will go through everything. There we go. It's gonna pull up. Jacqueline was gonna pull up the enrollment report and it is in board docs now. I was waiting till late in the day to where we had the most. Is there a link in there? Jacqueline, underneath in blue? I can't read your screen from here.
On your actual report?
No, there should be another link off to the left, I believe. So we're still kind of up in air in enrollment, and I know that sounds odd because school starts next week. But until we get our final families enrolling, it's kind of hard to count them before you know they're for sure coming. But our buildings, our secretaries and principals do a great job at that, but preliminarily, a few things to point out.
And I just put up the spreadsheet because the link's not out there.
Did I not do that? Did you refresh maybe? Can you guys see them? Oh, no, you can't see them there.
It's okay.
What, you want to just load it into board docs for them, real quick, download a PDF? But anyhow, some notable things, we did bring in quite a few more kindergartners than we thought at Lincoln. It wasn't a ton more, but it was significant. It looks like about 8 more kindergartners than we thought were coming, so we'll be hovering somewhere between 68 and 70 kindergartners, which is a bigger number than we thought. Lots of new families, several new big families to Lincoln and some of our other buildings, which is a good problem to have. And so Lincoln's actually going to start out about 25 higher than we thought it was going to, which is good. And then all of our buildings were relatively, and again, this is very preliminary, it will change based on late enrollees and or some families who maybe we haven't heard from and they haven't enrolled yet, but it looks like overall we're looking at about 1209 head count. So that's pre-K through 12. If you go all the way to the bottom. So about 1209, that includes about 40 kind of on the fence. We're not sure about, we're pretty sure they're coming. And so that put us about 60 students down over last year. So it's right around where we were estimating to be, about another 60 students down. And this trend will probably continue for, like we've talked about, the next several years. And so we've been preventative. We planned ahead and made the necessary budget changes to accompany that, but just to remember and remind, and I'll talk to you about it in budget presentation too, but the state aid is probably the biggest factor, or the loss of state aid as we lose students. We lost 8 to 10% of state aid in each of our 3 funds this year. And we probably need to continue budgeting to lose those dollars for the next few years. Obviously, you can plan ahead for the loss in base aid because we can use the year prior, or the 3-year average, whichever's higher. So we have time to plan, but we will likely need to look at reducing our expenses for next year again, based on the amount we'll be losing in students. So probably start that budget reduction process again early in the fall and create the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 list and try to hit our goal to ensure that we are reducing our expenses by the amount that we're losing in revenue. So some good news, not all great news, but it's, I would say, pretty well in line with what we expected. So any questions on enrollment? And we'll load that into board docs so you guys can see it too. It's a PDF, but remember it will change until September 20th comes around. We don't, we're not 100% on any of that. So next, delegate assembly. If you have any interest, KSB conference, I think August has been communicating with you about that. If we want our board to have a vote in regards to how KSB governs and the direction they're going in, we would need somebody to volunteer to be the delegate representative. Doesn't require a lot of extra work. We do have the ability to have one vote at their delegate assembly at the KSB conference, if anyone would like to do that.
Slide 9, that if you, something you want to do, let Brett draw the snow.
Was there a deadline? Or not? I don't.
Yes,
remember.
I think it's.
There you go. So by November 10th, you want to be a part of the delegate assembly. It's a great opportunity too, if you ever want to elevate your board leadership and learning opportunities. Once you can have the opportunity to go join KSB's board, participate in some of their learning, and even take on some leadership roles there if that interests you. So USD 334 disorganization. So I participated in a Zoom this afternoon. Things have been a little up in the air the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think some of that's getting sifted out and ironed out and headed in the right direction. So as it stands today, I believe their board is going to vote on a resolution this evening. I believe that resolution is going to be to dissolve their district. We will be named as one of the districts that will inherit some property. It won't specify that property at this point in time. It'll just name the 5 districts that have agreed to help them dissolve. And then once that's approved, I believe their next step is they will take that resolution or some wording of that resolution to the voters of USD 334. And the voters have to vote to dissolve their district. And if their voters would vote to dissolve that district, sometime in between now and that vote, the 6 of us superintendents would get on the state board agenda. And we would provide them a copy of the map that we've agreed upon. And we would ask that they consider that map when they take action on their end to dissolve the district. And so our hope, while they can do anything they want technically, our hope and goal would be that they would see that 5, 6 boards of education have agreed on something, and that they would see value in that local control on making that decision to dissolve their district. And and there was a lot of talk, as you know, on do they need legal descriptions? Do they not? There's been some later guidance that we've discovered that it's not a requirement that you have official legal descriptions, but that it's up to the state board. So we're gonna try just taking the map that we've drawn first to the state board and ask them to approve using that map. And so I don't know what they will say or what they will do, but does that kind of make sense, that timeline and plan on that end of things? And I know it's been a little gray here the last few months, but I think from my perspective, as hard as those kinds of things are, I think it's going in the right direction to the best of its ability at this point in time. Another notable thing, as you guys know, we do have our ADs work together each year on cooperative agreements for sports, and lots of that depends on if we have students interested or not. And so, as you heard from one of our patrons today, that the ADs are already working on that. It's one form, you fill it out, it goes to Keisha, and then it allows the cooperation to happen back and forth. So we are doing that with middle school across the country, or our ADs are.
Mr. Nelson, don't we already have that agreement for the high school?
We do, but it's based specific by sport. And so you have to do an agreement by sport.
But it's already in place for the cross-country at the high school level, right? We never.
So they're only good for, I think, 2 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you don't renew them, you have to fill out Keisha's form again.
Okay,
And so it hasn't been used the last several years, so there wasn't one in place.
because we did it 2018, 2019.
Probably so, yeah. And so our ADs do a great job of working with each other, and if they have kids interested in a sport not offered in other schools, then they fill that out.
In place when the coach retired at Wakefield. They didn't have it, so that's what we did, offered it.
So it just has to be renewed every time.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years.
I guess the policy's been, if there's nobody interested, they haven't went through and done Facebook. But then when it comes up again, they will.
And so we get asked sometimes, well, why don't we just do it every 2 years? Well, it does affect classification. Because you have to count all the students in the school, even if nobody's participating. And so our ADs have been trying to see if there's interest and if we're gonna have a student participating or not. And if they don't, then they don't do the cooperative for that year, so it doesn't affect classification. I think that's it on my end. Any questions?
Maintenance, where we at for school starting?
Really good. We're doing great. I think, you know,
Projects are all done.
they're getting very close to being wrapped up and done. There's some finishing touches, but the main big summer projects that you guys approved and accounted for are all on budget. They're all online and on time to get done. I think there's some touch-up work on a few things, some painting and some epoxy pieces, some training on the auditorium, some different things, but substantially complete, went very well.
Craig here.
No, he had a grandbaby today,
Oh, good for him.
so they went over to Manhattan to meet their new
Well,
grandbaby.
can you put on a list of the storage shed at Wakefield football field?
What was he here?
Is he? No, but storage facility at Wakefield.
Ah, there he is.
Yeah, well, he can listen, but the storage shed at the Wakefield football field. They started putting metal over top of the old siding in 2018. And it's still not finished as of this morning when I drove by it.
Yeah, we could look at that.
I would like I think it would take and maybe even have the shop class.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mr. Couch would be happy to go down there if he had the material there. But I just think with people coming and football games season starting up, that it'd be nice to maybe get that fixed.
Definitely put that on the list.
Board. Anita's report, any questions for Anita? Is the personnel thing on here up to date as far as?
We filled the Riley position, but I do want to say, since I've been here, this has never happened, that we have like choices. We actually have 5 applications right now. And right now, 0 openings. Couple we're looking at, we might need to,
Wait till-
once enrollment, well, but we have people to choose from.
Yeah, sure.
We haven't had that. It's a good place to be in. It really is. I do credit you guys, and I was asked today, why do you think that is? And I said, I do think we worked hard to get the classified pay up. We pay more in classified pay than Manhattan does. And I think that has some impact, so.
Very good. Very good. Appreciate that. Anybody got questions for you? Jacqueline,
Any questions?
question?
Question, he's not on here, but do we have any student teachers?
We do, we have 2 this fall. And one's at Lincoln, and one's at Garfield, and then we will have another one. We're not sure where, yet, but we'll have one in the spring. Mhm. Might want to note on the calendar we're doing the first day of school, K-6 and 9, that's district wide, that's new this year. And then preschool, 7th, 8th, 10 through 12 will come on the 20th, so.
After school programs are all covered then for next year, for this year,
Yeah,
until the end of this year, then we have to reapply.
reapply if that's available. Yep. Yep.
And that's this fall, when you reapply towards the end
And
of the year.
usually in January, the information comes out. And I think our plan is if it does come out, we would put all 3 elementaries on one grant cycle. If it becomes available, I hope through the first semester we know more. In the last 15 years, there was 1 year they didn't take applications. And I obviously had something to do with that. federal funds, but.
It's you and stuff, each of both of you.
I can
update us
sure.
If there is something to it.
Yeah. And as of right now, they have restored all, they're no longer reviewing our federal funds, but. I think we're hopeful that if they are going to remove any of that. We should hopefully know that in the first semester, so we can plan that as we look forward. I already had a backup plan of where we would kind of go, so that would give us an idea. Of where we need to move some things or things we need to reduce.
Very important. Community. Stay up to date on this one. Anything else? All right, we'll go to discussion on business items.
Yeah, we're gonna start out. We have a couple of guests with us today. And so now pools, come on up. And I think if it's probably more comfortable for you, let's just have you sit down at the table. And that way you guys can have a conversation. So the board had asked for kind of a second review of, let me help the mic. Yeah, so we have Mike and Chris of Naples. They spent some time in our district reviewing our facilities. Did some analysis. I kind of shared with them what some potential focus areas would be and asked them to really dig into those and look at those and give us some really high level budget numbers, knowing that there's time in between now and when any of this could or might take place, and so we know costs change a lot. And so Mike and Chris with Napolts, if you guys just want to have a seat, I'll help you pass out your stuff. And then
Be careful, those seats get hot real quick.
that's all right.
I've been in this hot seat before.
Mike's a retired superintendent, so he's not new to the board table.
I haven't missed those conversations about declining enrollment. And as much as I would love to stay for the budget presentation later, I don't
I
miss those
invited
either.
them to stay.
We were gonna do that first, but they said, no, you guys wanted to leave. So,
There might be some truth in that. Thank you for taking the time, and allowing us to come forward, with this information as you all plan for what lies next for your school district. And one of the things, like Brett said, I'm a retired school superintendent, did it for 21 years, and it was always exciting when construction came around. Because construction always gave the opportunity to change the instruction of a building, and it changes the attitude of the building, and it changes a lot of things. So you as a board, you have a lot of decisions to make as the future goes on, and just know that every decision you make is important when it comes to changing a facility or reconfining a facility and those types of things. And so, as Brett did say, we had the chance to spend about 6 or 7 hours with him and Tracy about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we got to go through all your buildings at a very high level. One of the things that they challenged us with, and as we were looking through, is what do you see from being a former school superintendent or an administrator? What do you see, especially when it comes around the vestibules and when it comes to the security of each of your buildings? And so one of the things that these prices do include, and again, it's a high level, and Chris, he is our pre-con specialist. He's a pre-con specialist for us. What he does is he does these numbers daily. So these numbers are historical, like historic numbers, based on other like projects, based on historic data of what those projects would actually cost. And so with that, just a little bit about Napolts. We're a family owned, started 76 years ago by Bob Napolts. His grandsons are currently running the company now. So it's still family owned, and the value of family is very important. What brings us to this neighborhood is that we were selected in Beloit, which is not too far from here, and we were just selected to do some new projects in K-State's campus as well. So we're very familiar. We do a lot. We're currently finishing up the bond at Hayes, their high school or their school district bond, and we're finishing that up. So timing of trying to find other projects in the central part, northeast part of Kansas is something that I've been tasked to do. And so thank you for taking the time tonight. So what you see in front of you, again, is a high level of that walkthrough and taking it through through discussion. There were never any architects, never any engineering drawings, none of that. So this is Chris's bird's eye view. And I'm gonna turn it over to him because I'm sure that you're ready to talk numbers and kind of how those numbers came to be. And so, just like I said, the key ingredient on some of the security parts, that does include a secure vestibule at each of those spots that number may seem a little bit different than what you may or may not have seen in the past.
Right. Yeah, thanks for having me and everything. Usually I don't get out of the office that much because I'm a pre-construction specialist. But what Mike also forgot to say is I serve on a board in Missouri.
That's right. He's missing a school board meeting to be here tonight. He didn't even get out of a meeting yet.
Yeah, so and it's kind of going through the same thing as what you guys are going through. So going through a bond project and everything, it's a lot to throw on the board, but it's very rewarding. So kind of talk about this. We'll just keep it at a high level and everything like that. Like Mike said, I take everything, so pre-construction specialist is, I don't work in plans, details and everything every day. I work on like napkin sketch schematic, thinking a little bit farther on beyond what a typical project is at that level. So trying to capture that to make it more of a bird's eye view or more of a vision of what it's going to be at the end early in that stage. So it helps you guys choose what projects you want to put buckets of money in or what projects actually are first on the list to be taken down or to go through.
And just kind of a caveat to that, your timing of this is perfect, based on where you're at in your planning stages. So what you're gathering the information, you're eventually gonna hire an architect. Before you go to the public and do public forums, it would be great to bring on your construction team with your architectural team and with your school team, because what that does is create your three-legged stool that we're all working together. The architect and the drawings, as they're putting out drawings, goes to the pre-con looks at those and says, assigns a number to that, right? So then before you go to the voters, you know, if you ask for $1 million or if you ask for $100 million, whatever you ask for, you would be able to afford within that bond project in time. So everything that you see and all the numbers that you see are what we're perceiving as escalation numbers throughout. It also includes all your construction fees, base architectural fees, base engineering fees, base everything. So everything that you see is what Chris believes, if we started the project tomorrow, what those numbers would hit through escalation over time. But as you're looking at this, you're doing it in the perfect sequence, because you want to create that three-legged stool before any community meetings and before any renderings come out and those types of things, because you don't want to show something or talk about something that you're unable to afford.
So we'll start.
Chris, would you also, just so everybody knows, the school district, you're in the structure of it. We were talking about that. It's
Yeah.
all one building, right?
It's a K through 12, 453 kids.
So I thought that was interesting to have that perspective also along with it.
And kind of a back caveat to that is my dad and grandfather also built 95% of the school. And the last two bond projects we have helped out and donated on to, so from a school, for our school. So I am the first generation out of my family to go to college, didn't want to, and was not supposed to end up in construction and still ended up in it. So, but it's been a good ride.
Appreciate you sharing it.
So starting here on Wakefield, we have your exterior improvements, so that's gonna be your tuck pointing, just kind of cleaning it up. We're looking at it at a high level from like a Google Earth, probably most of the time, it's usually a 20 to 15% of the building square footage that sometimes we'll need tuck pointing or caulking, resealing and everything like that. It's looking at a paint, updating the paint colors and everything like that. Your safety and security enhancements, that's gonna be your vestibules, getting that up to order, putting those vestibules in, camera system, the security film glass, everything like that. And then also updating your intercom system, your safety and security stuff, to put onto one device so that all schools, basically all through this whole thing, all your schools will be on one device, not on multiple, like a Johnson Control, SWC or whatever, yeah. So we looked at the playground, modernizing it, making it more ADA friendly, just looking at bringing it up to code. We talked about modifications to the new playgrounds, stuff like that. Plumbing infrastructural, this is where we had some tunneling under that school. There's gonna be some tunneling and some of that relocation of some lines, updating the lines, kind of bringing that up to code. Also looked at, I believe this one is also with that stem wall that you guys already had a structural kind of report on it. So we're taking that into consideration. We haven't seen it or anything, but we kind of looked at kind of a ballpark of how to fix that under there too. Looking at some ADA accessories and improvements. Installing a lift, a chair lift for the second floor in that auditorium area. So you can move on here to Lincoln. This is the one that's kind of the big, when you see the number, it's a bigger number, but you have quite a bit of work there, doing the new addition and everything like that. So we'll look at the new addition, removing the mobile classrooms, kind of bringing that all, matching that existing fascia to the existing school. We'll look at the exterior envelope, doing the tuck pointing and everything like that, the caulking and resealing. Kind of same thing here, safety and security, looking at those vestibules so that your administration can see have a clear view and be able to look at people that who's coming in, bagging in, that they can see and be able to have a clear conscience on who they're letting in. Some site infrastructure and utilities. You guys have some transformers that are sitting out there that are kind of like an eyesore, kind of gonna be in the way, like they're a little bit also into the playground area. So looking at a little bit of safety and security there, relocating them, putting them underground, kind of making that more of a cleaner look. And looking at the power lines to run your buses in through the new kind of a bus access lane and everything like that.
That's one of the things is we looked at and talked through that transformer is like. The cost of that transformer is an unknown, is that correct?
Yeah, until we know the sizing and everything on how
So
far we can relocate that.
Right, so when you're looking at that relocation, that is a gray area within this presentation of what that would look like and when we would order that and how that we would have to work with your, I think you said you have a local company, is that correct? The local company on how all that would work too, but we would, like, if we were fortunate enough to get to be partners with you on this project, that's one of the things that we would take off your administration's hands, is we would do that communication, we would work through that, and we would report back to you as a board and to Mr. Nelson and his team exactly what that would entail.
Yeah, because we could look at different options. We could look at different transformers, everything, potentially saving the district some money if we didn't have trucks. So, and then it goes into the playground, and then your traffic and flow and community access. We looked at that, putting in that new bus lane, kind of making that more of a constant flow and easier for drop off and, parking situations there. Then we go into Garfield. We have the pre-K transition, the educational space and enhancement. So, we talked about building out those rooms and everything, putting a bathroom and everything in there, some plumbing, kind of being able to keep, instead of transporting the kids down to other location, keeping them all in that location for them.
And this is one that I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tracy and Brett talked to us about possibly relocating this office to the Garfield area and what that would look like. So these numbers would include that transition over, so you wouldn't be spending any money on this facility, updating it or fixing the foundation or the new roof or anything along those lines. So when you're looking at that Garfield, that is the transitional cost with the modifications that we felt was necessary within that building to create a space like this, to give office space to your central office team and any other like consolidations from food service to wherever else within that facility. So when you see that number, just keep in mind that that's a transitional number to if at some point you would consolidate this office into a building.
So, and then we kind of kind of go down the same thing. Safety and security is going to be on each one of them. So we've looked at all those playgrounds. So then we'll move on to the middle school. So when we walked this site, we listened a lot to about the traffic flow and everything about opening that up and being able to have another bus lane and everything to walk through there. Looking at it from right now, it looks like it'll be a pretty easy transition to cut that street in. There might be some minor relocation of utilities and stuff with further investigation. We looked at the safety and security enhancements because that central office right there, there's not really a clear view to that vestibule that without kind of shaving back a little bit of the columns and everything and kind of being able to have a clear view of what that vestibule can look like.
And that would change the glass out in that office to give better sight lines. And like you said, we trim some of those columns, make them smaller. And then this would also include a buzz system in and out of that building to where they wouldn't go into the main hallway or any of the hallways, especially at the high school level.
And then we'll move on to the high school. So the high school, we had kind of the same thing, some tuck point in and stuff, the safety and security, like that, opening that vestibule up because it is kind of it's probably the hardest one to probably see that we walked. Being able to see out and open that up and, you know, kind of bump that little hallway up in that corridor so you can see who's coming and who's going. Re-looked at the parking lot, basically the drive lanes and everything like that, doing a little bit of patch, fixing some of those curbs and everything around there, like where the snow and stuff has been there over the years. It's kind of ate away on some of the curbs and stuff like that, kind of build that back up. And then we also looked at the gym, you know, putting a new floor in, new bleachers, also painting the Tar Heel blue beams to kind of make it flow better with the school. So, and then we looked at some ADA compliance and some interior infrastructure, you know, looking at the plumbing, you know, updating some plumbing situation, things like that. So, and then I also did the district gym, which if I'm not mistaken, that's the newest building, right? So there's not a whole lot there. It's just basically doing a little bit of patchwork and stuff like that. And then actually this is safety and security, just looking at, you know, updating the intercom system and stuff like that, and the life safety. So, and then Brett had us also do some district alternates too. So we looked at a new district, kind of for a new district office, about a 4,000 square foot. So that would be, you know, a ground up project is, so it would be, you know, 4,000 square feet of slab on grade, single story with kind of matching an existing, whatever existing district feel we thought most likely a brick and stucco. So that was about 1.887, 509. We looked at a new, just the district gym parking lot, about 50,000 square foot. So that'll serve to add some new parking in there, kind of give you a little break from the football field and stuff like that, a little bit of overflow.
Wrestling, basketball, yeah.
Yeah. So we looked at that, so that'd be about 5 inches of asphalt, new sidewalks, curbs, everything like that. And new utilities with some parking lights. We looked at, also, we pressed the new football field, or the football field parking lot, doing a full asphalt over there, 5 inches, new sidewalks, curbs, things like that. So,
And the softball side of things, right?
yeah, the football and softball side. So
That's only 55,000 square feet up there.
that's what Google Earth says. So, now I can't say, I mean, it's still, there's not a scalable there, but that's what it says off of Google Earth. So I do say approximate on there, so estimating is proximity. But so, and then I went on and did some district interior improvements. So I looked at, when we walked the facilities, looking at the ceiling tile replacement, looks like you have most of them. So I did like a 60% of all the facilities and everything, so that would be 60% of your facilities to have new ceiling put in, and then an LED upgrade, retrofit, and everything on the last page.
And that would be replacing the grid also for
Mhm.
for the tile.
Yeah, that'd be a full replacement. And then for the last one was this office here for basically a renovation and foundation stabilization. Which we really don't have all the information on what that stabilization.
So go back, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but go back to the ceiling grid, the ceiling tile thing.
Yeah.
So you asked if that was replacing the grid with the tiles, but that's not what this says. It says replace 2x2 or 2x4 ceiling grid tiles across classrooms, offices and common areas.
Yeah, it does.
So so it's including the grid as well,
Mhm.
even though it doesn't say that.
On the LED lighting upgrades, like what's the payoff on that?
We do have a sister company that we had come out here and walked with us, and he's working on to show you what that cost would be of the savings to retrofit that to an LED.
On average, it's about 8 to 10 years with the warranty of usually 20 to 25 years. So about 8 to 10 years is usually about the break even point. And then everything beyond that, while you're still under warranty, would be cost savings back to the district to offset your general fund expenditures on those fixtures, the lighting, the water, anything that they would touch or do. But Brian Little was with us that day. We walked the district. And he's working on those numbers with the engineer side of what he's reporting to them, which we'll send that report to Mr. Nelson when it gets completed. And so that's kind of all of the information. It's kind of, again, a helicopter overview of what we looked at that day to give you numbers and ideas of what it would take if you would decide as a district and decide as a community that you would want to pursue a bond and the community would want to support a bond. And each of those projects, again, are estimations based off walk, talk, those types of things. And so usually, in most cases, once you get the finer detail and then you go out to bid and those types of things, then things come in a little bit more competitive. So you could probably have there's potential in there for some savings or some shavings of different, but until you get that stool together and all three legs communicate, talking and designing that, that's when those numbers kind of come down and refine and get stronger. And that kind of information helps drive that. So we're open for questions.
Mike, would you mind hitting on what that CMAR process is and what its purpose is and what it looks like maybe?
Absolutely. So CMAR is basically construction management risk. Once we go through that three-legged stool, what that does is it gives you a final cost. So like, say something comes in and the tariffs affect something, once we set that final cost, that's our responsibility to adjust to that, not you as a district. So we wouldn't come back and say, hey, the lighting came in at $5,000 or $500,000 more than what we anticipated. That's the risk part that alleviates from you as a board. The other thing that it does is that we have OAC meetings every other week. So Brett and his team would come in, meet with the architect, meet with the construction team, and they would review what's been done, what's going next, and always have the budget overview in front of them. Okay, so what that also is, like, you as a board wouldn't have to have a meeting every time a light fixture changes or a color changes. That's what's decided in the OACs. Then we would come periodically through this process and do presentations similar to this to you as a board. So you always know where you're standing from a construction standpoint, from a time standpoint. But the biggest thing on that, it alleviates that CMAR. The two things that I experienced the most, because we did a project with CMAR, is one, it takes a lot of time away from you as a board because everything's like pre-discussed, pre-planned, pre-shown. And then your administration through those OAC meetings is up to date on everything that's changing or moving along those lines. It alleviates all the pay apps that your business office would have to do, because we handle all the pay apps, we handle everything. All of this is with you having contingency, and then anything that's left over on that comes back to you as a board. The construction company doesn't keep it. Everything is transparent, up forward, out in front of you, from the cost of whatever you want to see to the final cost is all in front of you. And we handle all of that, which takes a huge burden off your school team, which they can focus on what's most important, is educating kids. And so really the risk on the CMAR, because they're CM agency, at CM agency, you handle the risk. We still handle a lot of the paperwork the same, but you handle the risk if anything changes or goes awry. It comes to you as a board. Do we want to do that expenditure? Do you not? At risk, we assume that risk, and that the decision of financially doesn't come back to you because the final price is already being set on.
So you mentioned hiring everybody before. Okay, so I guess my question is, does that mean there's fees up front? That if the bond doesn't pass, what happens?
I can't speak to the architectural firm. Some architectural firms have some like rendering fees and things like that, but from our standpoint, unless we do a full-blown study where we come in with the pre-con, there's no fees until the bond passes. We'll help you pass the bond. We'll do everything we can do to help you communicate, help you devise communication, help you publish communication. We can help social media, all of those types of things. But if the bond does not pass, you owe us nothing. And so our goal is to come into this community, create an atmosphere that trust, transparency, and those types of things, to where it's important for you as a board. The communication is out there to what you want to have built, when you want to have it built, and timelines of what buildings are going to be touched within those timelines. And so I can't speak for whatever architectural firm that you officially set on, but most generally, the fees are very minimal on that side until a bond would pass as well, and you get more detailed drawings. There could be some fees along those lines, but I can't speak to that.
So then any town hall type of meetings to inform people, and you would be willing to attend those?
Absolutely, yes. And most likely, fortunately, unfortunately, you would probably get me. And then the PX, which is the project executive, because they would be the ones that would be working with your local contractors and area contractors to devise that work plan around that. So everything that we do, we want to try to make Clay Center the focal point of what we're doing. And meaning that's the greater community, Wakefield, everyone, every contractor that you've done business with, we would try to incorporate into anything that we would do. And so those town hall meetings, a lot of times in small communities, are driven by the individuals that have local businesses or those types of things, because this is an economy driver for you. Anytime you pass a bond, it's an economy driver for you, especially if we can engage your local contractors.
I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
In your pricing deal, the very first page. It says district gym facility, and then down about 2 blocks, it says district gym facility. And then it says Garfield Elementary, but then there's nothing listed for Garfield Elementary anywhere.
So how this goes, this is our estimating software. So it breaks down each one of these projects. So it'll have the name at the top, district facility, and it'll come down to district. And it'll show, what the square foot is and everything like that. 104,663.
Okay, but that's the district gym, but then the next line says Garfield Elementary, but then it says Clay County Central High School. There's nothing in there for Garfield Elementary anywhere. What we're doing at Garfield. Like it got left out.
It might have got rolled up in this.
So there's nothing there.
I can reprint it.
Well, that was one thing, and then
Well, believe me, there's pricing in there for you.
Well, I'm just saying, there's nothing listed, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Then you go down, but it says demolition for the weight rooms, 126,340 square feet. Our weight room.
That's just the total square foot of the building.
Yeah, but that doesn't help me when it's costing me $7,417. And it says it's gonna do 126,340 square feet. I wanna know how many square foot the weight room we're gonna demo, not the whole building. I mean, cause that don't tell me any, are we spending $100 a square foot? We spending $10 a square foot. So that 126,340 for the whole building doesn't help me tell what that $7,417 is. Down a little bit farther, we're talking bleachers. Then all of a sudden, there's a line that says plumbing, 274,000, but it doesn't say what the plumbing is when we were talking bleachers. So I'm not sure. It doesn't make sense to me, so I'm just asking, because
No,
I'm in the construction business, and if somebody tells me that I'm getting 126,340 square foot demoed for $7,000, I'm giving him a contract. Because
Don't
that's
blame you.
so that's one thing that doesn't make sense to me on this. And then the no Garfield deal that we know, it says 1,380,000 we're gonna spend there, but it doesn't tell me what we're spending it on.
That one had to have gotten rolled up because the previous copy
Yeah,
had it on there, because one of the questions that came up was tuck pointing and what we're going to do on the playground area to make that age compliant, or is it all new equipment, those kind of things. And so it was on a previous.
well, it's not on this one.
Yes,
That's all I'm
100%.
getting after.
That's a
So,
great catch.
and to me, the square footage thing makes more sense. If you tell me what, like down there at the bottom, pavement marking, we're getting 50,000 square foot done for $45,000. You know, it's almost $1 a square foot to mark out the parking lot. That makes sense, but the 126,340 getting demoed for 7,400 doesn't.
Right.
So
Right.
just,
No, great catch.
so I don't know, and if that's how your software does it, then that's the thing that, you know, in the plumbing deal in the bleachers section, I'm not sure how we went from bleachers to plumbing in the same square. And also the bleachers,
250 seats.
there's more than 250 seats in that gym though, isn't there? Or that gym holds more than 250 people. Shoe Wakefield's gym holds 1,000 people. So 250 seats isn't very realistic to me on that either. So I'm not sure what that is, but 250 seats for 600,000 is pretty expensive.
Right, and so from your point of view and from a board's point of view, again, these are overview numbers, and the detail, there is some detail lost there, but none of these, like, when you would go do the project, whether it's with us or with a different company, those numbers won't be set and that scope will not be set until you get official drawings and those types of things, okay? So like the exact, how the plumbing's going to do, there's some speculation based on overview and discussion on how that's going. And so as this is moving forward, these are historical numbers based on like jobs or those kind of things. And so you would set the final budget. So like the total cost of all of those, if you added those up, probably somewhere around 17 million or so. Your final cost is going to be based on the projects you decide with the bond number that you decide as a board to pursue and the community decides to support. If it's 17 million, these are all the things that you would be able to touch every one of these things to the specification, the exact specifications that is designed by the OAC team, which again is your district, the architect, and whatever construction team that you would select. So these would be, some of this is lost in the detail. And those are great questions. And to have somebody on your board that understands the detail to that magnitude is outstanding, but we're not trying to hide anything. We'll send an updated one to Mr. Nelson and he could distribute his Friday review.
Well, to enhance on your comment right there is, not everybody on this board is construction oriented.
100%.
So it's gotta be pretty vanilla for everybody to get the gist. You know, cause I'm just pointing out a couple things on the very first page. But if they don't understand that, or if I don't understand it and I'm in the construction business, I know some other people on this board really don't understand.
100%.
So,
That's why I say it's a great catch, because I've looked at this several times and I didn't catch that either. So
well, I just, yeah, okay.
And I think the big thing for me is it's so early in the process until we start narrowing some scope of what we want to do. Like when you think of plumbing or electrical, a number at this point in time. In most cases, it's establishing an allowance. Right. What I'm thinking of, it's a budget number to address general plumbing and electrical issues within each building versus we're gonna take out that sink over there or replace this pipe over here. Whereas at Wakefield, it's a little easier to do that because we know we gotta tear everything out of the tunnel. But we do know in a deferred maintenance bond, if we want to take care of deferred maintenance for the next 10, 15 years, we're gonna have to set a plumbing or an electrical allowance of some amount to which at some point in time we'll have to decide. But right now, it's 100,000 foot view. So it's just, for me, I think of it as an allowance or a budget number to address those things.
Yeah, and this is just kind of, it's just putting it together from no specs or anything, just kind of throwing it in there and just trying to build it as like what it would be in a project. So basically that demolition is about 5,000 to 6,000 square foot from 5-minute walk in there and look at it. Roughly, to tear out those masonry walls and everything.
Questions? Timeline, like, so we have to take this and it's gotta go to both, obviously, if we plan on doing that in March. And when would that order even,
So,
you know that, or Brett?
so SPT is working on it based on some of the other projects they've done.
Okay.
And so it'll outline essentially December 8th. Is your date, that there's a whole lot of other dates in between now and March, but December 8th, you would need to have a lot of those kinds of things done. And number one, filed with the state of Kansas. That's the most important. The other ones, even with wording of a bond, you have 90 days out of March.
Okay.
But December 8th is really when you have to commit to a bond or not commit to a bond.
Okay.
Other than that, there's obviously some other dates, but SPT is working on a 1-pager that'll lay out the whole year between now and March. I just don't have it yet from them. Any other questions for our visitors today? Well, thank you, fellas.
yes, thank you all.
Congrats.
Best of luck on your next agenda item, but also best of luck starting next week with the kiddos.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. So there's a couple of other attachments in your packet. I was asked for an updated mill levy analysis. We plugged that in there for you based on current rates. As you know, that can change drastically, that can change depending on at what point in time and what's the market doing. And when we look at those, we also tried to walk through as an administration team, and I did ask our principals to be here today. They understand their buildings really, really well from an instructional presentation standpoint, facility use standpoint. And so I did ask them to be there. So they're here if you do have questions, but there is a reconfiguration attachment in your deal where some of the ideas that you guys threw out last month, and we kind of thought about pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, what would work, what might not work, and kind of tried to lay all of those out. And so I don't know, I think the best thing is probably to just see what questions you all have.
Jacqueline's part.
No, it's in.
It's under the bond.
Okay.
Presentation, kind of the attachment, yeah.
That's stuff that we asked for. Any questions on that? Sure there are.
I'm kind of assuming that scenario 1 is off the table pretty quick with the need to add 13 additional classrooms to make that happen. If adding 2 classrooms to Lincoln costs us this much, adding 13 to the high school to create a school with 460 students doesn't seem like a real reasonable expectation.
It'd be tough.
I don't know, I guess. I was looking back through this VHS thing they gave us on our last facilities tour, $38 million of things we need to do in the next 10 years possibly. Which a lot of it's duplicate, so I just say 25 million. And then looking at the mill levy. You know, probably the best one, if we do one. Is. The 15-year for 10 million. I guess in my opinion, if you add on to Lincoln, redo Garfield. You're not gonna have any money to do any of the maintenance upgrades. Then we're gonna be tied up for 15 years in the bond. I guess I'm not sure how we're gonna tackle $20 million of maintenance upgrades over the next 15 years. If we tie up a lot of money and adding on to buildings and stuff, so. I guess that's one of the concerns I have. Adding on to Lincoln, consolidating. Most of the stuff that he showed us are pretty high priority in the next 10 years that need to be addressed.
And I think that's where we are in this process now is we need to, we know the resources that we're gonna have available. We know between bond and between capital outlay and how we best utilize those. And I think just when I think about that question, high level, Jason, would be, you know, if we think about building a 10-year capital outlay plan, if we raise, we generally, our budget is usually about 1.5 or so in capital outlay, somewhere in there, 1 to 1.5. And so over a 15-year time period there, that's 22 million. And so if you had a $10 million bond and about 15 to 20 million in capital outlay over a 15-year time, we should be able to strategically attack some with a bond and then the rest with our capital outlay over a period of 15 years. It's just a matter of what you want to do first. Do you want to reconfigure? Do you want to, it's about, we spend about, just on utilities here, we spend about 25,000 a year.
What do we spend at Garfield on utilities?
I have that spreadsheet. What's that called, Andrea? Sheet here. Right here. You remember what it's called?
Out of that capital outlay, how much do we pay, like, other miscellaneous stuff out of there?
Not much. Generally, if it's less than $5,000, it comes out of one of our annual budgets.
We don't pay any
So
salaries.
we pay some
Oh,
salaries.
salaries, yes, we do pay salaries, yeah.
Well, I'm moving more towards doing a maintenance bond than doing any consolidating or adding on to any buildings. Take care of parking lots, take care of roofs, take care of tuck pointing, throw the security in there.
I guess I see it as we're gonna spend 5 to 6 million at Lincoln and $2 million at Garfield just to have a new SAC office, not to be able to stand alone. It'd be way cheaper just to build one,
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
redo this.
it's been, I mean, part of that was $500,000 just to relocate the SAC. So,
So the first thing we gotta do, I think we said we were all in agreement is. How do we replace those boards?
well, how many grades are we at? 3 sections.
3.
We're down, so we have 3 empty classrooms now.
And get them out of the,
No, we were teaching in closets, we were teaching in other rooms.
You weren't teaching first grade in a closet.
Well, I say closet, a very small room. Some
Well.
grades rent, that wasn't designed to be a full classroom. And so there's one classroom in the mobiles this year.
Yes, just art.
Art is in the mobiles.
So we don't have a classroom that we can put art in.
We don't. We have music in the basement right now, which is an ADA compliant, and art doesn't, there's no plumbing in the basement. And so we didn't want to put art in the basement because she'd have to bring all of her supplies upstairs daily to wash them. So she's still in the mobile right now.
She's in the larger one that full day pre-K was in last year.
That's the west one, right?
Yes.
And I still feel like it's not our decision. It needs to be the voters' decision. So we present
The
one.
voters are gonna get a chance to decide.
Yeah, but as I'm saying, that one of the options they're presented is a maintenance with the new building for the district, and the other one is the reconfiguration. Those are your two bonds, and then the voters decide. Just
We're
put those,
not gonna put both of them on the ballot.
are we not?
I think we would.
I didn't think we were. no.
You do, unless you do like we did a few years ago and when we did the 2015, we put a whole bunch of stuff on one thing and we had an alternate. And the alternate was doing the football stadium. And the alternate got voted down and the other passed. So we did the other, we didn't do the football stadium.
Right.
That's the only way you can put both things on the ballot.
So the way I understood it when we discussed things is September, we'd have two options put together. That would give us 2 months to go out into the community and get their input on how they felt and maybe you have to adjust them. And then we come back together November and make the decision on which one we want to put on the ballot. After doing the town, we're doing meetings in Wakefield, we're doing Place Center, get people's opinions, and then as a board decide from those inputs and from the inputs that we get, which one we would put on the ballot.
Yeah, that wasn't my impression. My impression too is that, I mean, again, I'll say, I think we need citizen input sooner
Citizens and-
than when we're down to two options. Just feel like there's,
But we just talked about having a maintenance one and doing what you just said, well, that's where we're at, in my opinion, I don't know. Everybody else on the board, we put together the maintenance one, and we put together the other one. And take it to the communities.
and
And I
what's
mean,
your,
really take it to the communities, get them involved and get the discussions and what they think.
and what's your process for determining which one of those goes on the ballot? Are we gonna have them vote, or are we just gonna have everybody's
No.
impression of the opinion stated by those who were able to make the meetings?
Well, we'll video if somebody wants them, so they get time. Where you decide which direction we want to go. And what fits best.
I
got.
this is just a thought, and I'm just gonna kind of read what I wrote. I'm not really in favor of changing anything at Garfield. I think we have something very unique to this community in Clay Center. In that building with those students. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, I don't think we're gaining a whole lot at all. We're going to take this building, put it over there, move preschool, and that is a huge building for a small amount of people. And to me, I can't wrap my mind around that. I'm not opposed to maybe additions at Lincoln, but to move children. And that's a nice transition building, I feel, and it's just. It's unique and it's what it does for the community. I don't know. I think it's a lot of wasted space.
I'm kind of just in that, where, like you said, we need to kind of put together the maintenance and the building one and put them both together and come out there and see where we're at.
We have a second set of information here, it's like calling and all that, I think that is good.
Yeah.
We got a second set of eyes on it, Brett, and they get that one thing, be forwarded to us, and I will work with Brett and, we'll get two of those put together, but a maintenance one. We feels like that.
Maintenance one with a new district office, because it doesn't seem cost
No,
effective to keep
no.
this one.
I don't think, because it'll take up so much of that, I don't think.
I bet our
We'll leave this
options,
alternative.
so correct me,
There's no turn.
sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's gonna cost 1.8 to build a new one or 1.5 to renovate this one. So for $300,000, we're gonna polish this one now?
No,
Hold on
we
to it?
won't spend any money.
I
Like
think,
that.
So that's off the
Like that.
maintenance one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would it
So-
be cheaper if you added a district office onto the end of the middle school, or?
It's a
Can you,
really nice 3-story house on Fifth Street that we could move the district office into. I'm just kidding.
but
I think
is
our
that-
best bet, if we really think we need a new district office, is to go up there by the middle school and build a new district office and incorporate a parking lot. I'm not sure what the parking lot is at the new district gym that was on this as an alternate, but it's not gonna help the district office or patrons visiting the district office if it's up there or here or at Garfield. So the writing up here in this thing that we got tonight, I'm not sure, I don't understand that part, but
Well, at the last meeting when we talked, we said take alternatives. And that was one of them that I brought up that people talked about as an alternative is adding more parking to the district gym. There's an alternative. If there was,
I know, but it says in here, to support the proposed district office and overflow capacity for staff, visitors, and small district functions. Well, that's not gonna help the district office at all if it's next to the district gym.
Right.
So, I mean, some of these things about this proposal we got tonight just don't jive for me.
Well, I think the thing is, in my opinion, looking at micro level costs at this point in the process is not an effective use of time. You need to look at things from 100,000 foot view.
Well, I understand that, Brett, but if we're gonna spend 55,000 as an alternate to put a parking lot by the gym. As an alternate, we can spend $55,000, put a parking lot in front of a new district office and have another road coming out from the middle school.
Agreed, and I'm not arguing with you about that, I'm just saying, I don't think it's a good use of time to spend on micro level costs right now. We need to look at what projects we
But-
need at 100,000 foot view.
Okay.
Of what are we gonna ask our voters to do if we're gonna ask them to do anything? And in my opinion, we have to look at these big ticket items first. Are we doing it or are we not? And then start saying yes and no to a few things to get some.
Well, I would throw out this, that everybody on this board, between now and the next board meeting, write down the maintenance things they would like to see done.
he asked us to do that in January, I'm pretty sure.
Well, but have we done it? I haven't done it.
Well, remember, I wrote them all down on this board and then I took them and I put all of those things you guys wrote down on that chart paper and I put them together in the PowerPoint.
Okay, but now that we have some numbers from 2 different companies of potential cost. It'd probably be a little easier to say, I want a parking lot, or I want to replace the pavement at the middle school, at the high school, or fix the roof at Lincoln, or put playground equipment at Garfield, or, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do if you have a number out there telling you what that's gonna cost potentially.
That's fair.
so here's, let's do this. You give me till the end of next week, that's 10 days. I'll make sure, put one together, a couple of them, send them out to you. And I would like for you to put your comments on there, what changes you would make. And so we have that. You know, but I'll take the initiative of getting it out there first. No prejudice towards it. I'm not saying this is what we're gonna do, but fit it into things we've talked about, and then everybody can scratch out and say, hey, do this would be better, and this, and then we'll have that before the next meeting to talk about. If you'd send it back to me, I'll make sure everybody gets them. If not, you wanna bring it that night with your thoughts, then you bring it that night. Is that feasible to everybody? To get that in front?
That's fine. I just, and it's kind of like Lincoln, I mean, and I'm one vote, but. I'm opposed to adding on to that building and putting another 150 kids, parents, parking, everything on that half a block. With the bus barn and everything else that we talked about doing. And I know it gets rid of the portable classrooms, but I'm not in favor of, if we're talking about moving the kids from Garfield to down there. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me to put all that congestion already where there's so much congestion already.
K-5 buildings aren't uncommon.
I know they're not uncommon, but that situation doesn't work for that to me. With our bus barn and our vehicles moving in and out and everything else there, that just doesn't work to me, but that's my opinion.
Stephanie, I want to ask Stephanie, since she was at Garfield and now you're, if you don't feel comfortable or, but you know, your opinion, you know, on parents being able to same school, you know, if you got more than one child, one's go to Lincoln, one goes to Garfield, you know, do you, from teachers traveling back and forth to
Sure.
schools, all that, do you have any opinion on that, how you feel, or?
Yeah, so early, obviously, in my Lincoln career, but I can say from our Encore staff, it is really hard on them. So music, art, that travel, having 2 classrooms, 2 sets of instruments, 2 separate expectations from building leaders. Even on our in-service days, we're trying to decide who goes where. And then I think from parents, I've kind of heard a mixture of things. That the transition can be really nice, like what Shanna was saying, that it's kind of a gift for a fresh start for some kids. And then also it's kind of like, it's one more transition for my kid who's anxious or who we have to get across town. So I've kind of heard both. I think from like my perspective, I've worked in bigger cities that have been K-5 and I really enjoyed those and the opportunity you can have from your leadership of your 4th and 5th graders pouring down to your younger kids. So I think we could make any system work. I love the idea of a K-5 and I think there's some really powerful things that could happen with it.
Just curious,
Yeah.
just curious.
Something I was thinking about is if we did build a different district office and we didn't do it here, we need to incorporate the cost of the land in there, because I don't know that that's ever been incorporated into that.
Oh, we own,
We would own the land, wherever we.
We already
would do
own
that,
the
we
land.
What land do we have?
north of the middle school.
Yeah, wherever we would, if that would become about, we would put on
Okay.
it.
See, we can put it right on the corner between the high school library and the band room, if you wanted to.
That's where someone mentioned a parking.
I know, but if you're gonna have a parking lot to aid the district staff, it'd be perfect. Put the building right there and a parking lot right in front of it. And we own that land too.
Tracy, could I add one more thing about the
You sure can.
drop off? Another issue like we've seen at Garfield and then at Lincoln too is like obviously Lincoln opens its stores at 7:45 for kids, but certified staff are on till 7:55, which can be kind of a tough thing. And we do that so that obviously then families could get to Garfield and have kind of that 10-minute leeway space. And so that would be another positive for our families if we were combined. It's one drop-off location at one time. And it could be on certified time for our staff so that we knew staff were in the building and it wasn't relying all on our classified staff to manage that.
I will say as a mom, it was dang hard to, what do we have, 10 years of a kid at Lincoln and Garfield? And trying to do either drop off both, pick up both, you know, and it logistically, it is difficult being a parent trying to pick up from both locations.
Well, I appreciate you sharing.
You know, I think whatever you guys end up deciding. I believe the next 5 years as it relates to school finance will be the hardest next 5 years that this district gone through in a really long time. Cause I think we're gonna be down several hundred students in the next several years. And so we're gonna have to make some really, really difficult decisions as it relates to how can we be the most efficient? Where can we find efficiencies? How can we use our staff at the most efficient, but yet still equitable and fair way? But, and in my mind, you know, facilities are expensive. When you have staff traveling, that gets really expensive. All of those things because you're not maximizing their time with kids. And so, again, on the other hand, deferred maintenance is really expensive too. It doesn't matter what it is, and we need to plan to address those and take care of them so they don't cost us. We have as few surprises as we can as it relates to deferred maintenance. I think we have everything laid out. We know what we're facing. We know what we're dealing with. It's just a matter of how we want to move the puzzle pieces around to best accomplish the vision for the next 10 to 15 years. And in my opinion, a K-5 is the most efficient model to run and operate a school facility. I just, from a rational standpoint of duplication of staff, long-term ability to absorb staff in different, more creative ways. There's a lot of opportunity there when you reduce attendance centers and buildings that, you know, when they're all on one site instead of spread out all over town. That's my opinion, but Like I said, I don't get a vote. I'm just giving you guys information and take my opinion or leave it, but. I think the work that we've done is really good. I think we have a really good start. I think it's refined really well. I know it feels like we're in a holding pattern now, but I think that just means you guys are having a good discussion. You're thinking about things from every different angle, pros and cons, and I think knowing that December 8th is kind of our deadline to make a decision. I don't feel rushed. I don't feel like you guys have to feel rushed on a decision. I think you still have plenty of time to discuss and communicate and get feedback from people. I can continue to bring options and get you refined information, but I don't want to sound doomsday. But whatever we do, we need to do it with the mindset that the next 5 years are gonna be really, really hard from a financial standpoint.
I don't think November is enough time for this board because we can't agree on anything in one meeting. So if we're going to need to have this done by December 8th, I feel like we better plan on at least an extra meeting or back it up to the middle of October. Because if we try to accomplish this just November 8th, I think we'll run out of time. I will say that.
We'll see. Let me get a few of those things put together, options put together in plans. I'll get them to you by the end of next week. And make sure, look over them. I mean, we've got different sets of numbers, cross out, or do you think this will fit better in here and that'll fit better in there? And we'll set aside enough time to have a really good discussion in September, and then we'll make that decision.
Make absolutely sure we only reply to Tracy so we don't break any open meetings.
All good. I'll make sure, like I say, by next Friday, you'll have those. We check those out.
Anything you guys need from me on this topic in between now and next month? I'll get you a timeline of all the required dates that you have to hit throughout a year. We would end up doing them on in March. There's several of them. Anything else?
What's everybody's thoughts on that? Years on the bond.
I'll include that in there with some different options. Okay. We do this much for this many years. Here's where it's at. Mess around with that.
I mean, to answer your question, depends on if we're doing only maintenance or if we're doing expansion.
Right.
Only maintenance, I mean, can we do it in 10? If it's bigger than that, we're gonna need more years.
Yeah.
The less we hit everyone's personal pocketbook. But
Well, the whole thing was too, that, we were gonna roll it over and not change the mill levy, so.
Right.
That was the whole start of the conversation. So if it changes the mill levy, then
No,
that's something else to think about.
it needs to be mill levy neutral. The best, I mean, that's the shot. It's 0.25 or something, or a little fraction of a deal, but yes, that's still, that's where it would be. It would be. Anything else for tonight? So I will get you those few different options by next Friday. Okay, like I say, mark them up and what you think and exchange them, and then we'll have a good discussion in September. Okay. All right, next. Budget.
So there's a lot of material in board docs for you. We did include. I think it's not gonna let me share my screen. I did this the other day. I don't know what's wrong with it. Can you put the PowerPoint up there? So I do have the entire budget document, the budget at a glance, the instructional costs, all the stuff's in there in board docs. I won't read everything on the presentation. A lot of the stuff, it's just some historical data, but I think it's really relevant to review every year, once a year, this time of year. There should be a PDF in there with it, Jacqueline. And so it shows kind of a snapshot of our enrollment history. So if we look, last year's 2020, 10 years ago, we were at about 1,400 students head count wise. And then, can you do my present, Howard? As you saw, we're projected head count to be around.
Is this what you wanted?
There's another one. It's called As a number
Time.
outside.
I did the top and the bottom. I can share the
Right.
Google slide to me, and I can do that one too.
Let's do that. Oh, I don't agree. Bear with us, technical difficulties.
Well, we take a short 5-minute break while they're getting.
Good idea, Tracy, thank you. That was a good rescue line.
Almost out of necessity.
In board docs, cause Linda, you.
What I was looking at was the,
Last year.
The PowerPoint.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a PDF.
Right.
The one that you said, I was looking at, it's called 2025-26 budget presentation.
Yeah.
BOE
Then
report.
it's this
Yeah,
next year. it's
yeah, that
all
was-
down.
There you, the blue box.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's-
Oh, you weren't looking at the presentation?
No.
You were looking at the slide and then
That one, yeah,
it's not fixed yet.
okay. Yeah, I did just turn around.
Let's say that. Well, that's actually, yeah, that's actually.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Page 2.
That's in about 2 seconds, see if you can, or try to see if you can get my projector to work. See if you can refresh, it should be the bottom link.
Wonderful words.
So did you change that out?
And I'm not smart enough to fix it when it does.
Do that now. I thought you would look at my presentation.
Yeah, no worries.
You're trying to trade me?
I'm trying to see what he's got.
Oh. What's your deal, baby?
It's the same thing.
There you can have two.
I was looking for bread and butter pickles. Those are my favorite.
These are baby kosher deals. Now you got one for your husband.
Yeah. Well, the speed into the cross-country girls, they can drink.
I'll bring a bunch of mine next month. How's that?
Said jalapeno.
Spicy. Old Smoky.
Are you uploading that or are you gonna do?
See what kind of discussions we have. If we have that.
It's my gonna be there in about.
Trade it in the market.
You might be right.
Take the old one out.
Nobody
Please.
But very hard.
They They're pretty good, spicy.
You might get some decisions agreed upon.
You're supposed
Only
to
if we
call
have
what they
them
are
before the-
afterwards.
Right. Okay, it's out.
Okay, I'm gonna refresh.
We have 2 different kinds, we sell them quite a bit. We'll bring you some peaches.
So what's your bottom one say now, Jack?
Actual peaches?
What type of
Let me
pickles?
read.
They're spicy moonshine pickles. We have peaches, we have pineapple. Cherries.
This return to the moonshine.
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, yeah. I just got a new one last week, it's chocolate peanut butter. You might want to just- Yeah, it's pretty good on vanilla ice cream and strawberries.
Okay.
That's not good. Yeah, it was. I don't know, we've got about 20 different flavors we sell. You remember the old
Do I have to
orange
agree?
sickle?
I'm
pie
doing it,
sounds?
No,
Moonshine.
Yeah.
wait, where are you at? Where are you?
Creamy.
You put one there?
Orange creamsicles.
So watch, I hit enter.
Where are you?
Butter
You
pecan,
got like seven.
Edit text.
strawberry chocolate, tastes like
There it
strawberry,
is.
drinking strawberry milk.
Yes.
It's crazy, can't even taste the alcohol. It's just,
You know, don't.
Not
Got away
what
at
they
the
do.
corner now, it's
Yeah.
shaving.
the flavor takes over.
You have to
more
put
than-
it in the sink.
I think if you drank the
So
whole thing.
then I
you'd be in
need
trouble.
to, let me re-share it.
We sell their little
Did you hit reshare? It takes. a second.
mason jars.
Well, I did.
They're only about this
Recorded.
big.
Yeah, that's it.
$4 a piece, but
That's
we
nice.
can't keep them.
I took that out.
It's crazy.
Okay. We had 3 documents named the same thing and that causes a problem, just in case you wanted to know. And guess who did it?
Jacqueline.
No. No, it's.
Me. It was all my fault.
Ta-da.
Okay, we'll resume the regular meeting on the budget.
We do one more thing. Green check mark. Okay. They should both be there.
Is this the one you want?
Yes, please. Thank you. If you could scroll down to the enrollment page. This is not new information. It's just a different visual as the.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm trying to. I'm gonna see.
First day.
You guys, it is not. Oh, Lord have mercy there.
Been eating some of Jeff's pickles.
You need it. There you go.
So you can see our enrollment trend. I like visuals, but you can see 10 years ago, we were just over 1,400 head count. And last year we were at 1,279. I didn't put it in here and I won't until it's the actual September 20th number. We're projecting this to be head count, so orange, about 1,209 right now, based on today. So that would be about a 60 to 70 student decline this year.
So FTE would be around 150, bro.
That's really dependent on preschool and how many kids are qualified for an IEP, how many part-time kids we have, and so I'd hate to even tell you a number. It's usually fairly consistent, but it should be give or take. Yeah. Next slide, Jacqueline. So this has been our savior as a school district the last few years, and the reason why we've been able to give out nice salary increases and wage increases, because we haven't been increasing taxes on our patrons to do that. We have been using the increase in base aid per pupil to accomplish that. And that is what has helped us really increase our salaries and wages. And I'm just gonna say this 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 different ways this year. But as we look at how we ended last year and how we started this year, so we reduced our expenses by just north of $400,000 by cutting staff, right? So I want you guys to know where you see that. So, and it's gonna take Jacqueline a long time to go there, and I was gonna drive with my software, but my computer's not working, so I'll walk you through it verbally. But if you look at the salary line in LOB in the budget, in the salary line and general fund and budget. We reduced our expenses and salaries that we're gonna spend this school year by the equivalent of what we cut. But that didn't make up for the loss of state aid as a result of our 60 student decline. And so we're not bringing in that 200,000 in aid because our assessed valuation per pupil went up so much. And that's why you see on your R&R, on the tax deal, that's why you see the difference in that tax collection. Because if we didn't make up for that loss of $200,000 in state aid, we would need to go find another $200,000 in cuts. Does that make sense? And so if somebody asks you, I thought you had cut expenses, you can pull out your budget and you can show them the salary line in instruction and LOB and general fund. So we will spend 400 and X amount of dollars less on staff than we, this coming year than we did last year. Next slide. Base aid's projected to go up 3% again, 2.8 to 3. So that should continue. Strategy, long-term visioning is that as long as we can manage our expenses that align with our expected revenue, that we can still continue to use base aid per pupil to give at least cost of living increases to our employees. Because we know if we don't continue to keep them up at the pace they need to be, we will lose them. And so I think that's a strategy until it's not. Everything I am reading and understanding is that school finance formula next year will continue, but then they redo this whole school finance formula, I think, next year. Beyond that, I have no idea what or how that will change. And so that could be a big factor one way or another for us. But I am very confident in advising that this base aid increase should continue at least one more year. So this year, something very interesting happened. Our valuation actually went down. It didn't go up. Which actually, so when we lose student, our assessed valuation per pupil gets higher. In the eyes of the formula, we bring in more revenue per pupil. The lower number of students we have, and as the assessed valuation goes up, the value of a pupil gets to be more. So what happens to our state aid? It continues to tank. Luckily, this year assessed valuation went down by 700,000, I think. But that didn't keep pace with the loss of enrollment. We still lost too many students to maintain level assessed valuation.
We needed to go down. Realistically.
But next year, if we get a whole bunch more area from 334, it's not gonna help that.
No, our evaluation will go up, so then it costs, the value per pupil is gonna go up, so the state aid's gonna get worse. I mean, it's gonna go less, so if we had, I don't know how much we're gonna accumulate out there, but.
It's not very little.
Yeah, but I understand, it's still adding, it's adding instead of taking away.
And most of those farmland, which is going down.
Yeah.
The drop in evaluation.
Eventually, it's gonna have to,
Farmland.
in about an 8-year cycle, probably.
Yeah.
You would think.
So state aid, this is a grim slide, and this really paints the picture of what's happening to state aid. So if you look back at 26-17, we were 47, 36, and 36. We're at 31, 18, and 17. That's, I don't know, I wish I should have calculated a dollar number of what that is. But if you do 1 million, 1 billion, 5 million, 10% of $5 million, that's every year perpetually, that's what we're losing in aid.
500,000, 10%, you said 10%.
Yeah.
But you also gotta consider too, in 2017, 2018. Assessed valuation compared to what it is now.
Correct. Value of mills more. So this kind of gives a snapshot of our history, and then I always like to put what the state average is out here. So this is everybody in the state and where they are setting their levy. Remember, we increased LOB this year to capitalize. It's our highest state aid fund. And so for every dollar we collected there, we get 31% on the dollar. Or for every 100,000, we get 31,000 in free money. And so that's a strategy to help capture more free money and collect less taxes. Next slide.
So we're gonna raise our mill levy, about 1.7.
And the biggest thing was the bond, to make the bond payment with the.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I
the
see it
cut in
went-
State aid.
Well, it went to 6.8 from 6.
So remember why here? We were go back to the
It
eight
was,
slide.
it was the motor vehicle collection tax.
That started the train, but this is what really happened. Look when you guys passed the bond in
15.
15, you were at 36%. We're at 17. Last year, we were at 25. This year, we dropped to 17. That's $100,000 less than aid.
How'd that go, jump from 17 to 25 to 17
It's,
in 1 year? And
it's our assessed valuation per pupil.
So in 23-24, the assessed valuation per pupil was lower than it was last year.
We had a lot more kids. And bond and interest runs on a 1 year.
1 year deal. So
Capital outlay is 1 year. LOB is 3.
Wasn't it 21 when our evaluation just skyrocketed? That's why it went down so much?
Yes, when the pipeline came on, that was 30-some million in a year. Back up if you wouldn't mind, Jacqueline, or down, whichever way. There you go. You can keep going. So this is that comparison I do every year. And remember, this is last year's levy because I don't know what anyone's doing for this coming year. But this is last year's levy and this is where we fell to basically our local NCKL, some Wheat State League, and then a couple of other bigger towns around us. So as you can see, we're still significantly below, and even if nobody else increased their levy and we adopt 50.6, we don't move in the ranking of what we adopt for a mill levy.
I wonder, where's Marysville? I wonder if Marysville can pay better on the starting step.
They're just short of 60.
Well, yeah, but they're 10 mils more than us.
Right, they're just short of 60 mils.
But they're only beating our base pay by like 300.
Yeah, $39.
Yeah, or something, you know what I'm saying? But
$29.
that's why I say if they're 10 mils more in collection compared to, what,
They
That
did
makes a big difference.
they did that big bond project there though.
yeah.
They probably have a 10,
Because they did a lot.
11 bill.
For the high school.
We don't have Junction City and Manhattan's at 60.
But I think this is a testament to how conservative this Board of Education has been as it relates to the mill levy. Like, we don't ask for more than we need ever. And I don't think there's any intentions on doing that in the future, even though it's gonna require some really hard work over the next few years.
I like that Blue Valley Randolph. I'm surprised that they're kind of in the same boat that Southern Cloud is in. They're getting to that.
All right, next one. This is published on the accountability report every year down at the bottom right hand. We look at those usually in November. And so these are, Andrea gets a required list of expenditures that she has to pump into a report, and you have to exclude a whole bunch of things that the state doesn't count as a per pupil or an instructional expense. You can kind of see the trend there. Next. Kind of a snapshot of, pre-COVID and 1920 versus now, kind of where we rank in some of our area districts and kind of some of the districts that we typically compete against.
I will say I'm pretty proud that we have one of the lowest mill levies and one of the highest salaries.
Yeah, that's why I was getting at that minute ago. It's like Marysville got 10 mils more. I don't know what their tax base is or what their valuation is.
Okay, is that the last one? And these aren't new to you, but future retirements. Those are gonna be starting harder and harder to fill, especially those specialty core classes, and other areas, declining enrollment, housing, childcare, keeping up with competitive salaries. So then if you could jump to, I wanted to go to code 99, but I'm not dropping. Can you open the big budget? And then you should be able to search it for code 99. Pop it up.
The notice of hearing is the same thing in the board agenda.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's better.
but it doesn't show all the federal, all the other stuff either. You know what I'm saying? So if you zoom,
Oh,
this is a,
I'm trying to run it.
if you want it as a board member or
Guys, I'm
you want to
sorry.
talk to.
Close your eyes, I'll tell you when I get it done.
Member about the budget, this is a great resource, just in your PDF in your budget, type in code 99. And this will lay out.
I'm getting closer.
Hey, there's a plus one.
No, it does the wrong thing. Am I gonna miss it?
Yeah, so in my mind, this is because it shows every fund that we operate each year, and it shows you a 3-year snapshot of what the levy is, what we spent, what the revenue was, and then if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see down here on what our expenditures were. Remember, you want to take out transfers. Transfers count as an expense, but that's us moving money within our own funds. But of what we actually spent each year and then what we're budgeted to spend. And every year someone freaks out about that number, but why, who remembers why that one's higher?
If you don't put it there, you can't spend it.
Budget authority, yes. And so if we don't, and so a great example is like in capital outlay, we always leave a cash reserve in capital outlay for emergencies.
Does that have our contingency on there? What do we have in our contingency?
It's right here.
Captain, what page was that?
Up the top of it.
It's called the notice of hearing.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, it's around 800. I
You
don't.
go up just a little, Jack. It's got it on there.
Which one?
This is the expenditure.
Continue.
These are expenditures, not cash balances.
Okay. But it's $7.99.
So
Something.
Google or search for code. What's codes? Contingency 53. Do code 53 on your search thing, Jack.
Oh, is it?
In this doc, it's
Yeah.
right.
We actually spent last year than we did the
Yeah,
previous
transferred
year.
into it.
If you go down to the bottom.
We didn't think in it this year.
We actually spent less last year. We spent 26,535 and the year before we spent 26,749.
If you, can you search code 53? So if you guys ever need to find a certain budget, you can search within there. Code, do code.
That's just code 99. That's just code 99.
That's because they're not
In
together.
the same
Oh,
document.
you don't have the big budget software pulled up.
Right now. I'm.
You have a single document.
What do you want?
Pull up the budget,
Right.
big one.
Sure.
I do have a question, Brad, on the
Yeah,
summary of the total expenditures
Which is
by
one
function
page,
on that.
108.
And the transportation from 23 to 24 to 24, 25 went up 50%. From 714,000 to 1.07 million.
tell me again where you are.
That's actual expense. too.
Yeah, the total summary of expenditures by all funds.
Was that when we moved salary over there?
We didn't move any.
Oh,
salary,
yeah,
transferred.
that's a big jump. I was just curious. It just jumped out at me that everything else is pretty level. And then that one was a 50% increase from 23 to 24.
Andrea? It probably depends on where
Did you
it
see that one?
feeds from.
There was a chart
108, yeah, I
there
think
that
so.
had actual expenditures.
It's
Like
like,
showed
I
that
slide
for
it
3
up,
years.
It is across all funds. I'd have to go back and look, but if we purchased a bus, if we purchased any of that type of stuff,
But
that
we
transportation is gonna be,
wouldn't take a bus out of transportation, would we? We take it out of capital
it's
outlay.
coded to a 2700 function code. So
Even though it's paid out of capital outlay, it's charted to what its function is in there.
like even like,
Suburban.
You got a suburban train.
Transfer
If it
truck.
has a
That
transportation.
makes more sense,
So, I mean, it's.
cause we did buy several things last year.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, we brought the grounds truck, we bought.
I mean, I can go back and get.
No,
real
I was
detail.
just, I thought that was probably what it was, but I was just curious. We didn't buy a bus in 23, 24, I would think. It doesn't matter, but I was just curious.
But if you ever wanna see our starting cash balances, just do a Command F on your computer and search for that fund, and then at the top, you can see what our starting balance was. So we're starting the year with 799,834. But I think the short version is we gotta continue being really strategic on and thinking ahead and preventative and not waiting until revenue's a problem. We have to deal with revenue every year and loss of revenue every year until it's not a problem. The good news is with how the current school finance formula is, we always know what we're gonna be funded on for next year, so it's not a surprise. So we know whatever our enrollment comes in, come September 20th, we're gonna know what our number is, and we're gonna know that we need to cut expenses by that amount for the next year. But again, with the school finance formula changing, I don't have any assurances that that's gonna stay the same, if it is or it isn't. But,
So our actual mill levy's going up to 50 point whatever.
that's what this budget lays out, yes. So if you go.
And what does that put the capital outlay mill at? 6.
That extra came from being short on that bond payment.
Well, it was 0.8 on the bond, so there's some other built in there somewhere. If we went from
Ella.
40, we went from 48 to
So-
50.
Here's the graph.
Yeah, go, Jacqueline.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking that it went from 48 to 50, so.
Yeah, so supplemental general fund went from 16.35
There you go,
to
go to
17.8.
the 3 box,
So.
Multi-shade.
So that's about a 1 point.
there you go.
Yeah, because they stayed the same.
Yeah,
they
she
stayed
got
the
it right.
same.
But in bond, we had no choice, like if we wanna make our bond payment in September, we have to make up for the loss of state aid, and the only way to do that is to collect more taxes. And that is state aid's a wonderful thing when it's staying steady or going up. But when you're losing it every year, it's really hard on your budget because you have to make up for it somewhere else. And we had a double doozy, not only did we have to make up for state aid, we also had that big decline in enrollment.
And the supplemental is the most consistent state aid.
It is mainly because it's on a 3-year average instead of year to year, so we're not gonna see a 10% swing in LOB, or it's not very likely that you would. And so the next 2 years, it'll get more significant each year that we continue to lose 60 to 70 students per year.
But it's the highest percentage, I guess,
It is.
of all of them.
Yeah, it is. So our publication page, if you go to the board report, I think is the picture of the R&R there, or is it on the?
R&R, if you go back to that publication page, and the second page. The notice of hearing. Attachment.
Oh, yeah, board report, Jacqueline, the one that it's called. I made this thing.
This one?
Yeah, could you zoom in on that top picture?
Yeah.
Little less.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know,
less.
evaluation, I couldn't read that number, but it was 139 million something.
141, but then you gotta take the NRP out because we don't get
We
that.
don't collect the NRP.
And that was at 26 million this year.
The NRP.
So, so we're value of the mill is about 5. But after they take out, so you guys can see total dollars, it's the same thing that was on code 99, it's just broke down a little bit different way. And so really the only autonomy that we have to reduce that levy. You can lower capital outlay. But we all know the challenges of doing that. We can't touch bond and interest because you have to collect that amount to make your payment. So really, your only spot to do it is an LOB. And so in LOB, you can do the state average, which is I think 32. The most we have the authority to do is 33. And that's what we're set at now. This budget collects 33% on LOB and maxes out state aid. But if you want to lower that, we can, but just know that we would have to make up for that. And the only way I know to do that, I can't go out and sell more of something than generate more revenue. So the only way to do that would be to make more cuts or more reductions. And we're already estimating that we'll have to make an equivalent amount of cuts this year to what we did last year, probably between that 400,000 and 500,000 mark. I think the reminder is, what have we done the last 3 years as board? What have you voted to do the last 3 years? You're amazed, huh?
Give them a raise.
We'll give them a raise, but from the community standpoint, you stayed R&R. Who have collected less taxes from each year before than we did for the last 3 years. And what did I tell you the last 3 years? That wasn't sustainable, and we could do that for a little while, but it in no scenario that I can come up with is that a sustainable approach. If school finance any business, I mean, we
No, but it
have
got worse because of the drop in students.
100%.
You know, that's really the kicker, why that got worse. If the students would have stayed close to the same. Eventually we would, but not as fast and as drastic as what we have to do that. Because of the other students.
So what questions can I help you guys with? Somebody asked about those reductions, go to 08, go to 06, look at those salary lines, do the math. Year before, what we're spending this year. We had to make up for loss of state aid. And hold our hearing. Remember last year we changed that a little bit. We can just do one hearing, open them both up. And we don't have to do 5 minutes for one and 5 minutes for the other. As long as you allow enough time for the public to comment if they want to. If you guys approve us the authority to do this, we'll go out and do our publication process. Follow all those rules, and then that should set you up to be able to consider adopting the budget in September.
Questions?
I was gonna say, I moved to give final approval to hold a revenue neutral rate hearing at 6 p.m. on September 8, 2025, publish the notice of hearing for the 2025-2026 budget, and hold a budget hearing following the R&R hearing.
Motion. Second, any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Next is set the 2025-26 graduation dates. We got those last meeting. Any questions on those?
And just making sure that's gonna give adequate time for, well, Mr. Nelson to make it from one to the other.
Yeah.
I mean, we know you drive aggressively.
The time. 9 and 11. So
I
you're
can't
gonna do them
deny
both-
it.
you're gonna do them both in the morning.
And move to approve graduation dates as presented.
Motion. Second, any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Concrete bid,
So we said, how many people did you send it to? I think it said in the report, 13, 11 people. We got 2 back. You can see the bid sheets in your packet, and we've worked with the city of Clay Center, and we have their process filled out and signed off on and approved.
Why should we have to do that?
It's a little bit in their, easement. So,
Yeah, because we've never had to do that.
yeah, they're part of it. Yeah.
We're lucky they let us do it. So most of the times they don't want anything in the easements.
Yeah. I think if it was more than a sidewalk.
That was KDOT, they told you no.
So they remove all those signs along there?
To put it in, and then they have a plan, Craig and them have a plan to re-put them in somehow somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but the city did want those put back in somewhere. I'm not sure what their plan is, but
Keep it with Kenny. Sure.
we had Brandon Fitzenmeyer do a and you used to do elevation. Yeah, laser, and he lasered it to make sure that we have enough slope and stuff. And then Brandon Gibson looked at it for it to make sure it's ADA compliant. They couldn't find any issues there, so be good. It was significant. It was, I think we had budgeted 110. It came in at 55. Was that what it was? Yeah, it's about 10. So I think, and it on track, I think.
Did you do any background checks on the companies that submitted bids? Make sure they're legit.
The way just went out and found everyone, well, the company that won the bid was recommended by somebody that I know and respect, and said they do really good work, so. They were reputable names. We didn't send it to just anybody.
Well, I just, okay, I will go in.
I'll move to give final approval to accept the bid from Creed Construction in the amount of $55,286.
Second, any other questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Next meeting, so we'll have a budget our hearing. We'll continue on the bond thing. I'll get you all that information, a few options. And then after the hearings, later on in the agenda, we actually have any other discussion of the budget. Correct? So the first part is just the public part. Anything else? Comes up, check email me or Brett, if you'd like to have on there.
Personnel report.
Personnel first.
We usually do that after the executive
Well,
session.
it's listed before, so
Oh, okay, all right.
according to the deal up there anyhow. This is the first time it's been listed before, but it's listed before, so I don't care if we do it now or if we do it after executive session. Do you gotta talk about somebody in executive session for that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well,
No.
do we need an executive session?
Yes, we do. On one thing, we do. So, any questions on the personnel report then? I moved to approve the personnel report, including supplemental updates as presented.
Second.
Got a second? Any other questions? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
You want my?
Okay, I'm going to go into executive session to discuss the personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under KOMA. And the open meeting shall resume at. Shall resume at 8:10.
5 minutes.
Second.
Executive session should include superintendent, board and council. Got a motion, all those in favor? Yeah. Yeah. On that work.
I learned that.
He was not.
Yeah.
That's exalted.
He knows I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah. More of that, he's in trouble.
Okay. That will resume the regular scheduled meeting, and that's everything on the agenda, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Second. Second. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned 6:00. Everybody next month, I'll get you that stuff, buddy.
We're leaving for Queens in the morning. Gonna get up there in time for the Hampton Lake, about 3 hours. That's what we got. Next weekend I have.
The same three words. One by version, I had a number one behind one.
Yeah.
Catch me if you can.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Can't have that in.
Katie. John, DOB, he's never seen the ocean, so it's just a little bit. Oh, do you want to-
Yeah. All right, have a good evening.
You too. You really don't. hear me. No, you're not.
He liked it.
Yeah.
Is that off now? Hey, Jacqueline, is that off now? What? Is that off now?
It is now.
So my brother.
Yeah, so
Oh.
he liked it.